This is what we're making. 3 faceted rings that, made separately when they're put together, look like they belong together. This project takes 2mm square wire. That's 12 gauge for those of you that don't speak metric. So get the inside diameter of your ring, add 2mm, multiply by 3.14, make 3 pieces, because we're going to make 3 rings. File the ends flat, use a number 2 cut flat hand file. Then put all 3 of your ring shanks next together, make sure they're exactly the same length. Anneal them if they need it. Bend them into a sort of a circle. Make sure the ends fit perfectly. If they don't, you can saw down through the join. Get it as perfect as you can, solder it with hard solder. Do all 3. So you can see these are really close to the same length. We're using our flat half-round pliers for this. Half-round always goes on the inside. Now when you're working with square wire, really pay attention to keeping it so that it's flat, because it's quite easy to end up with a diamond shape rather than a square shape. So try to keep it as flat as possible, and just roughly bend it around until you get your ends fitting perfectly together. And as perfect as you can get it, meaning no twist, no slight elevation change. As perfect as you can get it, and with as few marks on it as possible. You can treat it a bit like a jump ring, where you just twist it sideways, push it together so that it's past, the ends are past each other, like that. And then when you bring it back, it will have enough tension that it'll hold itself together, and that's what we want. So do all 3, hard solder. So you can see this one's got a bit of a twist in it. Don't worry. Make sure your ends are lined up, solder it, and then we'll straighten that out. I'll show you how. So just a small amount of flux on the join. I've got the join up. 2 small pieces of hard solder that I pick up with my solder pick. Bring this up to temperature, and you'll know when it's the right temperature because the flux will go clear. When the flux goes clear, place your solder, and it will flow almost immediately. Quench, pickle, round it up, and sand this back to 400 grade paper. Okay, we're out of the pickle. Dry the rings off, round them up on a ring mandrel with a rawhide hammer. And like I said, pay attention that they're not twisted, but square wire being what it is, more often than not, it'll try to twist. So when you get them rounded up, you can just put your ring on an anvil or another bench block. Put another bench block on top of it and hit it with your rawhide hammer, and this will flatten the twist out. So we want these nice and flat. So just put your twisted ring on the anvil, bench block on top, and you should have a nice flat ring. So do all 3. Now you'll know when these are nice and flat because when you put them together there won't be any gaps between them. So at this point 400 grade paper on your sanding stick. Sand the outside, follow the curve of the ring, keep the profile square. Get all the solder off. Sand the sides. You can probably just put them on your bench on flat paper, scrub the sides. Do the inside with a split mandrel with 400 grade paper. In case you don't know, this is a split mandrel and it goes on your flex shaft. So you can wrap masking tape sticky side out around your finger, and then when you put your ring on your paper, it will stick to the ring and let you sand the side of the ring without sanding your fingernails. So do all 6 sides. So set your calipers at 6.2. Fiddly, but you can get there. And mark every 6.2 all the way around the ring. Do 2 rings this way. This ring mark at 3 all the way around the ring. Every 3 millimeters all the way around the ring. Now I'll just put a texture mark on each one of those spots all the way around, and then we're going to just brace this against your bench peg and file like this. Now we don't want to make a knife edge on either the outside edge or the top, but we want a nice flat filed from the outside edge to the top edge. Work your way all the way around at each one of those spots. So now this is what your ring should look like all the way around, and you should have 2 of these that look just like this. Now the third ring, I've changed the specs. Once again, 6.2 marks all the way around, and you just file this flat on the mark. And then what you'll have is this when you're done. The outside marks will go towards the inside and the inside will be flat. So finish all these flats to 400 grade paper, keeping the sanding stick nice and flat because then you'll have crisp edges, and then just polish it up on the Tripoli and you're done. Now you can either solder this together or not. It's up to you. If you solder it together, be sure you stagger the joins. We don't want any of the solder joints lined up. And that's it.